The orphan state, engineering obedience by attacking the family. The judge in his robes, the official behind the seal, the authority we call the state, these figures do not derive their power from consent alone. Their true authority is parasitic. It feeds on the ghost of a connection that was meant to be ours, the bond between parent and child. And for centuries, the most effective way for the state to install itself as a big daddy has been to first make the child an orphan, emotionally if not literally. This is not a conspiracy. It is a mechanism of control, and it has two primary engines, fear and fracture. The first engine, fear and the shadow parent. Carl Jung understood that the human psyche is built on archetypes, primordial patterns like the great mother or the wise old man. The most fundamental of these is the parent. This archetype contains both a benevolent and a terrifying aspect, the loving, protective parent and the devouring, controlling one, the shadow. For a child to develop a healthy sense of self, what Jung called the process of individuation, they must navigate this duality within their own family, learning to trust, to love, to rebel, and ultimately to become their own person. The state's genius is to short-circuit this process. It achieves this by amplifying fear. By maintaining a constant state of economic precarity, it forces parents into a position of perpetual anxiety. They become too exhausted, too stressed, and too frightened of the state's intervention, social services, police, to be fully present for their children. They transmit their compliance to their children as a survival strategy: be quiet, don't cause trouble, obey. The state encourages parents to project their own parental shadow onto their children, punishing non-compliance not because it's wrong, but because it's dangerous. The second engine, the deliberate fracture of the family unit. A strong, sovereign family is a threat to a totalizing state. It is a self-contained unit of loyalty, tradition, and authority. Therefore, for the state to become the primary caregiver, the family must be broken. This assault has been relentless and brutally effective. 1. Physical removal. For centuries, the state has perfected the art of removing key family members. Wars conscripted fathers, leaving mothers to raise children alone under the state's watchful eye. Economic systems forced men into mines, factories, or distant lands, creating families parented by an absence. The modern carceral state continues this tradition, physically removing millions of parents, leaving a void that the state, as social worker, welfare provider, and parole officer, eagerly fills. 2. Ideological subversion. More subtly, the state has waged a war of propaganda against the family structure itself. It has relentlessly promoted ideologies that atomize individuals and place the state as the mediator of all relationships. By aggressively redefining and devaluing traditional roles, it severs the sacred and complementary bonds that give the family its strength. The attack on the masculine, as you identify, is not about empowering the feminine. It is about creating an imbalance so profound that the family unit collapses under the strain. The goal is to remove the internal protector and provider so that the child's gaze is forced outward, toward the external, institutional protector. In this chaos, the child is left psychically abandoned. They crave the authority, protection, and love that their fractured, fearful family can no longer fully provide. And right on cue, the state appears. It offers itself as the ultimate arbiter, the source of security, the real parent. The child, already conditioned by their caregivers to obey external structures for survival, simply transfers that allegiance. They bow to the judge because they have been subtly trained to believe their own father was insufficient. They obey the state because they have been taught that their own family is fragile and dangerous. The court becomes the new home. The law becomes the new parent. This is the final, tragic triumph of the control structure. It doesn't just demand our obedience. It manipulates the sacred ground of our childhood to ensure we offer it willingly, as a lost child seeking a home.